Hey everyone, and welcome back to Your Money, Your Life podcast, episode 213 of the pod. Make sure wherever you're listening, you like, subscribe, 5-star rate and review this podcast because we have a lot to get into. I posted the YouTube link in my IG story. So if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and hit the notification bell. We have a lot to get into this week. So I'm going to see how well for my YouTube watchers the share screen will work for us. Hopefully not too delayed. Doesn't seem to be. So big thing that's coming out in the market this week or today, I should say, if you're listening to Thursday morning, is the PCE guide on inflation. That's going to be the big number that the market is going to be looking at. Pretty much just giving us a tell on where inflation is going. It's the Fed's preferred gauge of inflation. And so that's going to be the number that comes out later. It's pretty soon here. So people are going to be anticipating it. And oh, we actually got it. Breaking news. We got it. Key inflation measure rose 0.4% January as expected, up 2.8% from a year ago. So again, that's it looks to be in line with expectations where this is breaking news. We're getting the PC numbers right now at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. We'll see what futures do with that information. There might be a bit of a lag, but it looks like futures are trending slightly downward to a little bit flat here. So, getting more data as the market tries to digest this data, that's going to be pretty much how the today trades. So, I'll be on CNBC later today talking about three stocks and picking three stocks and where they'll trade as well. So, again, if you look at it from a perspective of the few last week here, we always look at the market in the last week and just give a good gauge on what's been going on. So take the S&P 500 for the past 5 days. We've been roughly flat. So that's telling. Nothing crazy going on. There's just earnings season. There are some. Looks like the market's liking a little bit of a shot up here on the pre-market trade based on the PCE inflation um, number. So we'll see how it trades today. I think it's going to be more of a actually interesting trading period. Pre-market, the market has liked so far the numbers it's looking like as far as the inflation gauge. So that's the biggest thing that's driving this week, as well as company earnings that are coming out down the pipeline. So we'll keep an eye on that. Let's go into news this week. I think there was a couple stories. One was Netflix. They tapped a new film chief. So I think I've always said the content for Netflix is great. I don't know if you all are watching the new season of Love Is Blind. We're watching it. We like it. And so they're tapping a new film chief. Dan Lin is going to lead the film business. He left. This is after the departure of longtime head Scott Stuber, who stepped out in March. Lin is the founder of Rideback, which has produced Netflix live action Avatar: The Last Airbender. I see a lot of people say they like that movie. I've not watched it, but he is going to be the new content film chief and head, which is a great job for him. That's really impressive. We're going to talk about this later in our roundtable, but Bitcoin back above 60K. Bitcoin back above 60K. Um, Again, we've always said be a proponent of holding, not try to trade, not try to buy at the top, not try to engage in FOMO. So talk about that a little bit more. But that is actually an interesting story that we will discuss in the roundtable because I think it's important to remind people of cycles, stock market cycles, any cycle, crypto cycles. Like people forget so quickly. Apple scrapped its EV self-driving dream as they're shifting gears. So remember, like it was like a long time ago, Apple announced that it was leaked that they were working on a self-driving electric vehicle, but they've ditched the plans. It was a decade-long effort, so they started it in the mid 2010s, and they were trying to build an iCar. It was a multi-billion-dollar project. All these tech companies have so much cash; they're investing in little side projects and long moonshots. Um, the dream of this car was going to be a pedalless steering wheel, free self-driving EV, but they're just scrapping the plan. They're laying off workers as the market shift. They're going to focus their assets and their resources more on AI versus on this self-driving car. Apple had a lot of buzz for the headset that I think is still really cool. The market actually like that, or consumers like that for a little bit. It's kind of fizzled since it first came out a little, but the buzz is still there, and I think it's going to be a product that a lot of people are going to use when it comes to the Vision Pro headset. Beyond Meat, if you remember Beyond Meat, it is a recently IPO'd company. Obviously does like the veggie faux meat burgers. So they actually had a share spike, incredible share spike. They plan to split their patty business. Plans to flip its patty business into profitability, even though the quarterly revenue fell 8%, but the drop was less than the analysts expected. So they want to make their patty business profitable. They want to make the business profitable. Their US sales slumped 20%, but of course, you know that Beyond Meat has a lot of international revenue streams. And so that's probably another thing that investors like because international sales did rise. So 84% in one late trading. That's kind of crazy. I don't know if there was a glitch or something, but um, that's something to keep your eye on is Beyond Meat's spiking. Again, it's gonna be a lot of FOMO and again gambling in the market. It'll be a lot less than last time because people just don't have as much cash as they had during the pandemic time. So we'll talk about that again. So Wendy, as we keep that restaurants theme, Wendy has announced plans for Uber-like surge pricing as fast food costs turn off customers. So Wendy said it's going to begin testing a dynamic pricing system next year that could pump or lower the price of Frosties burgers or spicy nuggets depending on demand. So you guys have seen this maybe in a bar. There's like a beer exchange where if a beer a tap is getting demanded more, the price of course goes up. If one is less, the price drops. And so I actually think this is a credible idea. I wonder how it work. It might even drive, people lunch hour, lunchtime. People buy right before lunch. They could flip their burger to the next person on the side of the road during lunchtime for a higher price. So it's interesting. I like it. I actually like this. Um, it's surge pricing is behind a lot of different things. It's obviously been on Uber. Disney parks are starting to use it. AMC theaters have looked into it. So if they can do this right, it might be good. It might be good for them for social media buzz in general. So we'll keep an eye on that deal. Kava stock popped as well. So this is like a lot of the retail restaurant times. That's the earnings season. We're going to talk about a Sweetgreen on CNBC here in a little bit. So let's go into one thing that I think is important: the FOMO that we're potentially going to start to see if we're in another bull market cycle. So we keep talking, in great terms about what's going on in the market, what we're seeing, and generally, and again, the benefits of our strategy. Especially, I've been talking to clients and the strategy that we've employed over this long term has been highly beneficial to a lot of people, and they're seeing it, right? Not only with financial planning, but the portfolio management that's done an incredible job based on my strategy, really. So if you look at it again, but what's happening now, right? Especially with crypto, as we go into our roundtable with crypto moving over 60K, Bitcoin, I should say. Um, let's actually, I'm sure we have charts of BTC. So we're pulling that up there for those that are not with us on YouTube. We are pulling up the BTC chart and getting a gauge of some things I want to talk about in the roundtable. So the big word today in the roundtable is really FOMO, hype, and understanding cycles. So remember, again, we've told people a long time that we're long-term investors. We buy for long term, and we really want our strategy is focused on a lot of research and a lot of things that people don't do out there, right? There's a lot of people that are they call them retail investors that FOMO, which is of course and doing something based on you not wanting to be left out, right? And so that plays a huge part in what you'll see with a lot of investors out there, especially retail investors, because it's psychological. It's really hard to combat FOMO. It's actually impossible, right, for most people, especially if they don't have high conviction. They don't know. They just go based on what they've heard. So again, we've seen that heavily in the crypto market. Now we're going to show why we see that, right? Because and that's why I'm warning people because you're seeing it along the lines as people are going to say, "Oh, I missed this rally. I see everyone's making money, this and that. I'm going to just like buy now because everyone's telling me to." And that's what that, again, we don't want to. We block out noise. We don't want to be doing things based on what other people are doing, and that leads to this. So if you look at the 5-year chart of BTC, we did peak in the mid 65,000. Back in November of 21, right? And so if you look at the search trends, like it's actually interesting looking at the search trends of crypto, and I'm trying to get us a date here. This is May 2021. So this time is April 2021. The peak, if we can get the peak, one of the other peaks, and this again, this is a Google search trend past 5 years, where we're getting different barometers. We got a lot of May. So pretty much it's telling me that so many people were the peak was basically November. But then the retail investors and people that just didn't know what they were doing, were working with expert. They started the peak of their interest. The interest is spiking, but the peak was in May. That's when all of them were starting to buy. And guess what? That's when, if you look at here, December, March, April, like that's when things were on the downtrend, right? They had already been buying at the top, and they were wondering what's going to happen. They were researching, but they'd already bought at the top. A lot of the retail investors already bought at the top, and they subsequently got it, was crushed for a long time and probably gave up and sold. Again, we're a proponent of telling people not to sell. If you believed in it, if you've done research, and if you're working with experts, that was always our thesis, right? And so the point of this is saying that again, you're going to see a lot of people with FOMO top things, right? They give up, they try something, they think it's going to get rich quick. If it doesn't work, blame someone else and then give up, and then don't face the music, essentially, on their own, lack of understanding. So you'll see that across the board for a lot of people. But yeah, the search terms are not there, but you're going to see it if this crazy cycle continues. Crazy meaning if we start seeing more upward and positive interest in stocks and crypto, which are both trending towards highs, with stocks already being there and with crypto coming there. Caution people: do not be FOMO. Do not now start to say, "Oh, I want to save and go crazy and buy all these things." It's not what it's there for, especially with these high flying things like Nvidia or any of those things. Exercising patience is always good. I still think save money. That's always a good thing to do, especially in your accounts, because it allows, if you're working with an advisor, which you should be, it allows the advisor to maneuver as needed. But the craziness was just trying to buy things just for the sake of buying them. It hasn't come back fully yet, but you're starting to see, if we have more of a crazy cycle, with crypto, with different things, that will start to come back with people having FOMO and wanting to just do things that are probably, not the best for them. I've had the conversations with people that did those things. They did things that, again, I probably sometimes advise them not to. Um, and it's hard to combat that when you're dealing with FOMO, but it's something you have to exercise that an expert can help you with, because it's really impossible for, um, you know, mentally for other people to do so. So, word of caution: we haven't seen the crazy cycle come back yet, but it is going to be on its way. Again, if you're looking at these search trends over time, there's not much buzz yet, but once you see an all-time, once it goes well past the most recent high, the FOMO will kick in. Then people will be like, "Oh yeah, it is stable. I remember this. I remember that." So just a word of caution: we don't know exactly where things will go in the near term. Again, we've heavily been a proponent of long-term investing and not driven off of FOMO. Always stick with your plan. Always save at all times: down times, good times, up times. Always the best to do so. So keep those words in mind, folks, as we get to this into this spring and summertime, which will be good for us all. Happy birthday to my fiance. We'll be celebrating again this weekend. And of course, we will talk to you all next week.